Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is to step down as chief executive of the e-commerce giant that he started in his garage nearly 30 years ago. He will become executive chairman, a move he said will give him time and energy to focus on his other ventures. Mr. Bezos, the world's richest man, will be replaced by Andy Jassy, who currently leads Amazon's cloud computing business. The change will take place in the second half of 2021, the company said. Net sales rose to $125.56 billion as consumers turned to the world's largest online retailer for holiday shopping, beating analysts' estimates of $119.7 billion. Amazon shares were up less than 1% in after-hours trading. Jassy joined Amazon in 1997 and has an MBA from Harvard Business School, according to the company's website. He founded Amazon Web Services and grew it to a cloud platform used by millions. Immigration advocates urge U.S. President Joe Biden to move more quickly to undo some of former President Trump's hardline immigration policies. Biden ordered a review of asylum processing at the US-Mexico border and the immigration system, created a task force to reunite migrant families who were separated at the border by Trump's 2018 zero-tolerance strategy. The executive orders called for a dizzying array of reviews and reports that could trigger policy changes in the weeks and months ahead, but provide limited immediate relief to immigrants barred by Trump-era rules. Melanie Nezer of HIAS, a Jewish non-profit organization that works with refugees around the world, said it's important to keep in mind that real lives are at stake and people are suffering. Biden mandated a review of the migrant protection protocols, a Trump program that orders 65,000 asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for their U.S. court hearings. The Biden administration has stopped adding people to the program but has not yet outlined how it will process the claims of those already in it. The cautious strategy reflects the tightrope Biden is walking to reverse hardline Trump policies while simultaneously trying to prevent a surge in illegal immigration. Biden opponents could also derail or slow down his agenda with lawsuits if his administration moves too quickly and fails to follow proper procedures. Nezu said scientists and public health officials have weighed in on strategies that could be pursued to protect migrants and officials from the coronavirus, yet still allowed them to have their asylum cases heard before U.S. judges. Venezuela will send further shipments of oxygen to help neighboring Brazil treat COVID-19 patients. President Nicolas Maduro said on Tuesday after sending a convoy of oxygen-filled trucks to the Amazonian city of Manaus last month. Maduro has a tense relationship with Brazilian right-wing President Jair Bolsonaro, who said in January the Venezuelan oxygen was welcome but that Maduro should focus on helping Venezuelans. Maduro said on Tuesday that 3 trucks were currently loading with oxygen produced by Venezuelan state-owned steel company Sidor. 2 would be destined for Brazil's northern Amazonas state, while 1 would go to Roraima state. He added that further shipments could arrive every now and then, or on a weekly basis, according to Brazil's needs. The outbreak in Brazil's Amazonian region has been particularly severe. Doctors at overrun hospitals in the state capital have said patients have had to share cylinders and that some have died because of lack of oxygen. Brazil has reported some 9.2 million confirmed cases of the novel coronavirus, the third highest toll in the world. Some 225,099 Brazilians have died of the disease, the most of any country other than the United States. Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh expressed fear for their people still in Myanmar after the country's military seized power in a coup. Democratically elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi was detained on Monday along with other leaders of her National League for Democracy party in early morning raids. Bangladesh called for peace and stability following the coup and said it hoped its neighbour makes genuine efforts to move forward the stalled process of voluntary repatriations of Rohingya Muslim refugees. Mainly, Muslim Bangladesh had sheltered 1 million Rohingya who had fled violence in Buddhist-majority Myanmar, where most of them are denied citizenship. A UN-backed repatriation process has failed to take off despite multiple attempts from Bangladesh, which has now started sending some refugees to an isolated island in the Bay of Bengal. The UN Security Council was due to meet later on Tuesday amid calls for a strong global response to the military's latest seizure of power in a country blighted for decades by army rule. Resistance to Monday's army takeover in Myanmar is growing, with residents of the biggest city, Yangon, banging pots and pans and honking car horns. Medical staff in several major cities are planning strikes, while activists are calling for a campaign of civil disobedience. However, correspondents say the military appears firmly in control. Calls are growing for the release of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi, who has not been seen since her detention. Over 100 lawmakers had been confined by the military in their accommodation in the capital, Nai Pi Tao, but have now been told they can leave. The military took power in the early hours of Monday and declared a year-long state of emergency after accusing Ms. Suu Kyi's party of fraud over its recent election win. Car horns and the banging of cooking pots could be heard in the streets of Yangon in a sign of protest. Youth and students groups also called for civil disobedience campaigns, and a Facebook page for the campaign gained over 100,000 likes. Doctors working in government hospitals said they would stop work from Wednesday to push for Ms. Suu Kyi's release. Some medics are resorting to wearing symbols in silent protest. There have been no official statements on Ms. Suu Kyi's exact whereabouts since she was detained in pre-dawn raids on Monday. But unnamed sources from within the NLD said both she and President Win Myint were being held under house arrest. The Boston Dynamics robot Spot can now be fully remote controlled from anywhere in the world using a web browser-based platform called Scout. Previously, Spot was controlled via a bespoke tablet, which meant that the operator had to be nearby, said the firm's Vice President Michael Perry. Boston Dynamics said it has sold 400 Spot robots in the last year. They are being used in construction, deep underground mines, nuclear power plants, and offshore oil rigs. Despite relatively limited sales to date, the company's new owner believes there is huge potential for the business. Google's parent, Alphabet, had sold the enterprise to SoftBank in 2017 for the much lower reported sum of about $100 million. A video of Spot sitting itself down onto a charging dock using a skipping rope, opening doors, moving objects, and climbing stairs was released to mark the latest development. The robots are commonly used to patrol sites and gather data, the firm said. Using Scout, the robot can now be controlled remotely with either a keyboard or a joystick via a web browser. If Spot falls out of communication range, it will retrace its steps until the last point at which it received a signal. By highlighting an area of the camera display on screen, Spot's camera can zoom in on it. However, companies will need to take safety precaution if they intend to use the robot without anyone physically close by to supervise it.